landlords. When the going got tough, did the tough get going? Something I wanted to talk about was rent relief has been a really big thing with residential tenants. I wanted to focus on residential this morning. The way, and I think, given the mandate from government, given what we should and shouldn't do, it was handled in different ways from agents. And in agents' defence, in our defence, we've never had to deal with en masse these sort of numbers with rent and with rent relief. Morning, Luke, Brandon, Anmol, Catherine, how are you? So with rent relief, guys, it's really, really important that it's done properly. So we're managing over 3,000 landlords and tenants. And even an agent, with our experience, we didn't quite know how to actually approach tenants that were eligible for rent relief. And it was really interesting talking with our bankers. So with a real estate agency, generally your banker will bank a whole bunch of other real estate agencies. It was interesting talking with industry leaders like that. I know Greg Jemison, people like that. Rosie Sullivan, people like that. So Greg Jemison, one of the biggest lawyers for real estate. Rosie Sullivan, one of the biggest trainers for real estate. And going across, what I learned from all of these guys was, one, very good, but two, what I learned was in the industry there wasn't really a set way or a right or correct way to do the rent relief. I'm going to tell you a little bit how we did the rent relief with our landlords and the benefits of the way that was done for eligible tenants. So there's a trick to it, or there's a hack to it. So the way you got to do it is where agents missed out was there was a piece of information that the government dropped, and the government actually said that no rents shall be increased until the 1st of September. So the government came out with a mandate and said no residential rents shall be increased till 1st of December. Remember what I just said. This piece is really important, because when you now understand that most of the agents across Sydney and across New South Wales, what they did is they gave their eligible tenants a rent reduction. Now, let's just say they gave the tenant a rent reduction of 10% off or 20% off. So the tenant rung up, the tenant was eligible, they're on JobKeeper or something like that. The landlord agreed, okay, look, I've got the capacity to sort of help out a little bit. So then what the landlord did is they said to the agent, look, give them $20 a week off, or give them $30 a week off. The next question was, how long do I do this for? And this is also the second part of the trap. A lot of agents said, okay, look, let's just make it as short as we can. We don't know how deep COVID's going to be. Let's make the rental reduction 2 months. So the landlord factors his figures in, and this is the mistake. The landlord factors in 2 months, say that's going to be 4.3 weeks in a month. That's going to be 8.6 weeks over 2 months. 8.6 weeks at $30 a week, here's my maths, is about $250, right? Whatever the figure is, whether it's whatever the percentage of the dollars, I just want to give you an example. Don't have a go whether you think it's fair or not fair, that figure, but I'm just giving an example to do the math. This is the trick. When that 2 months is over, guess what? 1st of September. So the landlord agreed to do a 2 month rebate to the tenant. 2 month rent reduction to the tenant, but now the landlord can't put their rent up on their tenant until the 1st of September. So where it was agreed to 2 months, the law was 6 months. That's a trap. So the way to actually do it correctly, which is the way we did it across our portfolio, was we offered the tenant a rebate. So the tenant continued to pay the normal rent that they were paying, and then what our agency did is rebated back the $250 or the $125 each month. What that means, because a rebate was done, it means there wasn't a rental reduction. It means that they didn't require a rental increase, which means we didn't fall into the 1st of September trap. It's a trap. So guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, the value of a real estate agent that knows their legislation back to front, that was for us, that's across 3,000 clients that we applied that principle to. You can imagine if you got it wrong with one landlord, and the conversations that us real estate agents are going to have with one landlord to say, look, I know you only agreed to 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, but the law is. And how many landlords are going to work out that their agent stuffed up their paperwork, or how many landlords are going to work out that they're just going to go, well, okay, that's the law, that's how it is. So I urge you, when you're selecting your real estate agent, make sure that they know their business, because the fundamental mistake that could be costing landlords through COVID up until 1st of September is massive, because you still have to give 60 days notice to put your rent back up to a normal level. So to go back to your normal rent, you still actually have to give 60 days plus postage plus public holidays. So that even sounds lame when you consider we can't put the rent up until 1st of September if all things is okay again. So the value of a great agent is important. I'm going to see if I've got any questions here. Catherine, great work. Lee, how are you? Victor, crazy times, morning, Mark. No, all good, no questions there. So guys, very, very important. Make sure your agent knows their shit. Having a good real estate agent will absolutely make you money. It makes the management fee look absolutely minuscule when you look at just one of those mistakes that could have been made through COVID, which was the rent going up. The rent going down, which means the rent can't go back up to its normal level. Now, I haven't even entertained, that's the figure I gave you, $250, which is on a lame $30 a week. If that figure was greater, that's a really big mistake that we've made for our landlords. So be really careful, guys. Make sure the agent that you're using that's managing your property is a good qualified agent. How do you know? Well, look, the numbers do tell the story. If they are generally a larger agency, I think you'll find their paperwork will be better, more accurate, right, and they don't fall into the traps. The reason why is because if we make a mistake on a large portfolio, it amplifies times thousands. So we generally, every time we make a step for a landlord, we make it sure-footed and in the right direction, because if we make it in the wrong direction, we could stuff up a lot of landlords. So when it came to this rental rebate or rental relief or rental reduction, whatever you may call it, that we've gone through COVID, before we put our foot down and stepped in a direction, we made sure that it was done correctly and it was done with the right paperwork and it was executed so the landlords could go back to a normalized rent as soon as possible. And if you just chipped in, guys, what I'm talking about is rent. If you were giving your tenant any rent relief because they were due in rental and liable for it, did you, if you're self-managed or your agent, do it in a correct manner? And the takeaway nugget is it's rent relief, not a rent reduction. Rent relief you can do week by week. The tenant still pays the normal rent and you rent relief them back. The rental reduction, you can't put rent up after a rental reduction until the 1st of September. Big thing, guys. Melissa wants to know, what if an agreement has been signed, the tenant agrees for the rent to be increased, it's null and invalid. You cannot have a mutual agreement with the tenant for rent to go up, because that's outside of New South Wales law. So there's a great example. People can sometimes think, not assuming that you're saying, oh, it's a great question, Melissa, I'm not assuming that you've done it wrong or right, but I'm saying that by mutual agreement, if a couple mutually agree to break the law, it doesn't mean that that's the law. The law is 1st of September, you can't put rents up until then due to COVID. So if you want to normalise your rents, that you've given rent relief for a 60-day period or 90-day period now, you have to give them a 60 days notice plus postage. and then you have to give, and plus public holidays, and you can't start putting rent up until 1st of September. An interesting one is, does that mean I can't serve a notice until 1st of September plus 60 days? Because that's then going to take us into December. I'm going to look into that one. I've just been working on what's under our nose, not that. We're not out of the mud yet. Lisa, take note, best advice you'll be given this year. Thank you. And Tony Chimino, you legend. Rosie Sullivan, I was talking about Rosie at the beginning of this segment. Rosie, this is the lady, and particularly we do have a good real estate agent audience as well as a Northern Beaches audience and a Sydney audience. Rosie trains probably the most amount of real estate agents in the country. This is where I get a lot of my good oil from, together with her and one of the best real estate lawyers in the country, Greg Jemison. And then I give that advice to my landlords as part of my fee. Right, so that advice I'm giving you today, I've got that, I've obtained that advice, paid for that advice, got it from the best sources, and I'm giving it to you. So Rosie, I know you've just probably chipped into what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is not giving tenants a rental reduction. I'm talking about giving tenants rent relief, because so the tenant continues to pay the normal weekly rent, and the landlord will say, there's $50. There's $100, gives rental relief. But as soon as the agent gives the tenant a rental reduction of $30 or $50 off per week, that agent has to give that a 60 days notice period to put that rent back up, and they can't do that until the 1st of September. Actually, Rosie, you can answer this question. Does that mean when the rents go back up, say COVID, where life's back to rosiness, I know it's unlikely, but say life's back to rosiness and we want to put the rents back up, and the government's given us the mandate that the rents can't go back up until the 1st of September, does that mean I can put the rent up 60 days before that, so it kicks in on the 1st of September? Or does that mean I can't actually serve that notice of the rent going back up until the 2nd of September, for example, the day after? Let's have a look what Rosie said. I'll get her to she'll write the comment in here later if she hasn't written it live. Interesting stuff, guys. Hope I helped you today. Have a beautiful day. It's a bit warmer than normal. I think that cloud cover, Lisa Novak told me this morning that cloud cover means it's a little bit warmer. Didn't know. Now you know we're getting old when we talk about that with weather. Have a beautiful day, guys. See you later. Hopefully I helped you out. Bye.